Hello, my name is Bailey and I don't learn from my mistakes. So I don't do TBRs because, history repeats itself, and in the past I've never completed a TBR, to be honest. But is it March? What's the month? It's April. Oh my gosh. So in April, I've read the most books I've ever read in a month, and I'm trying to ride this reading high right now and try and get the most reading done as possible. So we're attempting to do a TBR for May because I want my future in reading to look a bit more like April. So I'm trying to inspire that energy by planning out my reading and kind of planning for it to go well again. You know what I mean? I'm doing a TBR, and for the first time in my life, I think it's possible that I could actually legitimately complete all these books. I make no promises, but I feel like it's more possible. So we'll get into it. There's a bunch of audiobooks I have that I'm not going to mention in this video that are due in May, just because there's so many of them that I don't know which ones I'm going to actually end up prioritizing. So we're not going to mention audiobooks, only physical reading. The first book I'm going to talk about is The Foxhole Court, and I do not own this physically yet. I ordered it online because I started reading the ebook and I have discovered I hate ebooks, so I had to order the books, and so they should be showing up on the 4th of May, so right at the beginning, just really convenient. I did start this book. I started reading it on my phone because I cannot stand reading on Kindle, and a little more tolerance reading on my phone because of my Wattpad days, because I'll just be scrolling through them Wattpad books, having a great time. So I'm more tolerant to reading on my phone, but I just cannot read efficiently on my phone because if I'm on my phone, I keep getting notifications, I just keep clicking away, so it was not working out. I got to chapter 3 or 4, and I put it down for the moment. I'm going to start it when I physically receive it. This trilogy follows this guy named Neil, and he plays this sport called Xe. It's a made-up sport that's lacrosse and floor hockey all combined. But at the beginning of this book, he is offered a spot on this Xe university team called the Foxes, and he, against his better judgment, joins this team, goes university at wherever this university is. I don't remember what part of the state it's in, but it's there. And it follows him and the Foxes. I don't exactly know where it's going. I never actually read the synopsis. That's me giving you a synopsis of what I know. I haven't been reading synopses lately because, I don't know, I'm a little bit lazy. And when I read synopses, I actually have a worse time reading books because I'm just waiting for the things in the synopsis to happen. So I haven't been reading them lately, so that's why these are a little bit shaky descriptions. Sorry about that, but whatever. So the next book I have to read in May because I'm going to be rereading this series, one book a month, until I finally finish the series, and that is Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I read up to Empire of Storms in this series, except for Assassin's Blade. I read up to Emperor of Storms and I just never finished this series, and it pissed me off because I own all the books and I just want to be able to say I finished the series, and I want to see how everything tied up, even though I know a bunch of spoilers for the series anyways. I need to read it for myself for the completionist's sake. So I'm going to be rereading this series starting in May with a group of people, and obviously you start with Throne of Glass. So we're not going to be reading Assassin's Blade. That's kind of an optional thing. I'll probably get to it at some point in May as well. I was going to read it this month, but I just never got to it. So this book follows Selena Sardothian and the prince of this land. His name is Dorian. And this prince offers her a deal. Basically, if she fights as his champion in this competition, she can get out of jail. And if she wins, she'll have to serve as the king's assassin for 5 years, was it? I don't remember the exact year count, but I think it was. Or maybe she negotiated down to 5. I have no idea. So she accepts this deal, and it follows her going through the competition, and that's where the series starts. It gets so much more convoluted, and it goes off from here, but that's how it starts. So yeah, I'm excited, but also worried because I really liked the series when I first read it, but I do not think I'm going to like it as much now with my reading having evolved and my standards having evolved. So we'll see how this goes. I also have to read this physically because there is no audiobook available to me. I would use an Audible credit, but I don't have any Audible credits and I don't want to buy the audiobook, so this is gonna have to be a physical reread, which is not ideal, but we'll work with it. Next we have A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer. This is the first book in the Curse So Dark and Lonely series. This I also have to read physically because I don't have the audiobook, and then there's one more fantasy book coming up, which, that's kind of a lot of physical fantasy reading, which is something I don't do anymore a lot. I don't read a lot of fantasy in a row, so we'll see how this goes. But this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. It's like an urban fantasy sort of retelling because the real world is also involved in this book. And it follows a main character that has cerebral palsy. So our main character's name is, what's her name? Dude, what's your name? Harper. So our main character's name is Harper. So basically one day Harper sees this woman who is inebriated being carried off by this scary man, and so she jumps in and attacks him because, you know, protect woman, and she ends up being transported with this guy to this fantasy world. And this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, as I said, so that's where we're going with that. I've heard a lot of mixed things, but like a lot of good things about this book, especially in regards to representation. I'm excited to read this. I'm also excited to get the second book because it's green and I love green books. Like, I don't know what it is, but when there's a green book, I just want to have it because I love the color green. Random note. But I've had this for a while and I need to read it, but I don't like Beauty and the Beast retellings anymore, so it's gonna be a little bit rough, I think. But we'll see. We shall see. Next we have our third fantasy book that I have to read physically. And that's Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I've had this book for so long. I think I bought this the year after this book came out, and I have not read it. So, I have read the first chapter though, like 7 times. Juiced had 2 problems. The moon and his mustache. I've read it too many times. I can recite the first line. No, you shouldn't be able to do that on a book that you haven't even finished. I've heard this book is very character driven, and that is not my vibe. I don't love that. But this book, it's Six of Crows. It's so hyped. Everybody's read it. I just haven't. Why haven't I read it? I don't know. This month is the month. Maybe. I've said that a few times, but I really want it to be the month. A lot of people have been recommending this book to me, saying that like Casbreaker is gonna be my soulmate, and I don't know. Now I've got such high standards of this book, I might hate it, so I'm scared. But I've been told so many times by so many people to read this book, so I'm finally going to be doing it. Hopefully. So if you don't know what this book is, which you probably do, because I'm like one of the last people under the sun who hasn't read this book follows these 6 morally gray criminal people, and they have to go on a heist. I have no better description for you because I genuinely do not know how to describe this book other than that. Like, that's what I've just heard it described as. And that's basically what this says, just in more words. So, no thank you. My original excuse for not reading this book was that I hadn't read the Grisha trilogy, so I wouldn't be acquainted with the magic system. I have since read the first book in the Grisha trilogy and understand the magic system, so I really have no more excuses on why I haven't read this book, so... Also, there's a third book that's been announced on Goodreads for some time, and like, I have to read this duology before that third book comes out. Like, that's pushing it, you know? Like, I have to at least be in the loop somewhat when this series gets continued, you know what I mean? Like, it's ridiculous at this point how long I've had this and have not read it. The next 2 books I have here are the last 2 books on this TBR, and they're also very, very short, like, contemporary-like things. They're not, like, light contemporary, like, romance. Well, one of them's, like, romantic. But they're not fantasy, so they should be a little bit easier to, like, digest quickly. So, first I have Orpheus Girl by Bryn Rebel Henry. This was one of my most anticipated reads of 2019. I didn't get my hands on it until this month, and I didn't realize how tiny it is. It's not even, like, 200 pages, so I'm excited to get into this now, because it's just, like, so short. It's just, like, a little nibble of a story. But also, I hate ordering things online because you can't, like, check what type of book you're getting, like, what kind of condition it's in, and this book isn't in, like, pristine condition, but I guess I'll get over it. This book follows a female-female couple, which is really exciting, and this is a Orpheus myth reimagining, as you can tell, Orpheus Girl. So I'm not that familiar with the myth. I do believe it's like Orpheus's wife is taken to like the underworld and he has to get her back, something like that. I have no idea. So one day these 2 girls are making out, sucking face, and they are discovered and they are both sent to the same gay conversion therapy camp. And it's basically the story of, like, them trying to get out, or I think one of them's trying to get the other out. I don't know. Something like that. I don't know. It's weird to say, like, I like stories about gay conversion therapy, because I don't, like gay conversion therapy, obviously, because that's, like, fucked up. I like seeing people delve into the topic, you know what I mean? It's very interesting to me, so I'm excited to pick this one up. Also, it's got a female-female romance, and I am a sucker for that, so I am super, super... super excited to pick this one up. Also, is this one, like, beautiful, by the way? I didn't know it was, like, shiny in person, but it's just stunning. I love it. So the next book I have is Speak by Laurie Halse Anderson. This is, like, a modern classic. It's got the National Book Award, so congrats, Laurie. I think that this is, like, a required reading for some people. It was never a required reading for me, but I have a copy and I want to read it at some point because it is such, like, a modern classic. I want to be in on the loop, you know what I mean? So, who is this?
So, who is this?
So basically this book follows Melinda, and she was sexually assaulted at a party, and now she's being kind of bullied, and she's an outcast at her school because of this. And I don't know like the depths of the plot, but I do know it touches on sexual assault. It's a modern classic that's touching on a very sensitive and very prevalent issue, so like I'm excited to delve into it. So this is my TBR, plus the Foxhole Court, plus some audiobooks that I won't mention for May. I'm scared. I don't know how this is gonna go, but hopefully it goes okay. As long as I don't get into a reading slump, that's just the one thing that could kind of ruin all of this, but I think it's doable, but it might be a struggle. You know, like I'm gonna have to try hard, and I'm not good at sticking to things, but you know what? It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. So we're gonna try. And that's kind of all I've got to say. I've been Bailey, that was my TBR. I'll catch you later.